We're back. Woo!
Sire Rebecca here, joining the gang again. I can't tell you how much fun I'm having, and I'm so grateful to be back here.
I really love the new theme song. I notice it sounds a lot like Drusilla, but not so much Juliet, Sire Rebecca, or Watcher Dev. Have you been contacting composer Tim behind my back? In front of. What? In front of your back. What are you talking about? That doesn't even make sense. As lead producer and star with creative control, I had to steer my little lamb Timmy in the right direction. He was very confused by you. The lamb was caught in the blackberry patch. I'm gonna call him. You don't like the music? No, I do. Do you want to change it? No, I actually love it. Well then. So, moving right along, do you want to hear some BTS info? No need to be cranky. I'm not cranky, grumpy, testy, uptight, no, peevish, sullen. Drew, we need to talk BTS. Okay. BTS. Minion Juliet is bratty, tiresome, surly. Stop it! Rebecca, shall we discuss behind the scenes?
Yes.
Many films, TV shows, books, and all kinds of creativity have come from actual dreams or nightmares. Kurosawa's movie Dreams features a collection of vignettes directly inspired by his recurring dreams. Francis Ford Coppola's film Twixt was inspired by a vivid dream that he had when he was in Istanbul, Turkey. He described it as a nightmare with imagery reminiscent of Poe or Hawthorne. He realized that it could be a film, and he recorded what he remembered into his phone. His newest film, Megalopolis, is very dreamlike as well. Director James Cameron said that the main character in The Terminator was inspired by a dream he had while he was sick in Rome, Italy. David Lynch works from dreams and nightmares as well as transcendental meditation. All his films maintain that dreamlike quality. Robert Altman's Three Women came from a dream that he had while his wife was in the hospital. He said he even dreamt the cast. I'm just putting it out there to all the directors listening. Start dreaming about me in your cast. But really me. On a flight to London, Stephen King fell asleep and had a dream about a writer who became the prisoner of an obsessive fan. When he woke up, he scribbled down what he remembered of the dream on an American Airlines napkin, and it became Misery. The end of Suspiria came to co-writer Daria Nicolodi in a dream. Bram Stoker's novel Dracula was based in part on a dream. He said that he might have had too much dressed crab before dinner, and that may be why he had that dream. The section that came to him in the dream was the Three Brides with Harker when Dracula says, "This man belongs to me." E.B. White fell asleep in a railway car and had the idea for the children's book, Stuart Little. William Styron's Sophie's Choice came from a dream. It is a nightmare of a woman having to choose one of her children over the other in Nazi Germany. I often get ideas in my sleep, and often in that netherland, when you're in between sleep and being awake, Dev had cut the opening of a short film we co-directed, Dream Out Loud, and then the complete structure came to me when I was sleeping. I like the Neverland. I'm there all the time. Yes, Drusilla, that is true. That certainly is a good description of you. Oh, on another note, the Jules theme in my film, A Place Among the Dead, was recorded on our composer's phone in the middle of the night. Once, though, when I was dancing, I had this stellar dream about a piece I had to choreograph. And then I woke up and I was so excited. And then I realized, you know what? Human bodies don't bend that way. So it was a fantasy.
I try to keep a notebook by the side of the bed. So as soon as I wake up, whatever is lingering, I'll write it down. And there's a lot of inspiration in dreams.
I agree with that. 1,000,000%. I love it. There's also something called dream work that some actors use in roles. Sandra Seacat, who I met when I was playing Roberta in Danny and the Deep Blue Sea, was the pioneer of this practice with actors. She was so lovely to me about my work in Danny. Her work was based on psychologist Carl Jung's theories about the unconscious. It's a process to help actors tap into deeper emotional states for their characters. Sandra passed away, but some of her clients included Laura Dern, Jessica Lange, Mickey Rourke, Melanie Griffith, Gina Gershon, Ryan Gosling, Andrew Garfield, Marlo Thomas, and Don Johnson. There's a dream coach named Kim Gillingham who credits Sandra Seacat with her work. And some of the people that she works with are director Jane Campion, Sandra Oh, Benedict Cumberbatch, Amy Brenneman. Bill Pullman worked with her for the series The Sinner. He says the process was revelatory and that his dream ended up fueling the whole arc of the season. Kim was first an actress. In the Puffy Shirt episode of Seinfeld, she plays a studio assistant who asks George out when he becomes an in-demand hand model. In the first season of Friends, she's the ex-girlfriend that Joey is trying to win back.
Synopsis. A brief summary or a general survey. Don't quote me, but I just love to compile, collate, posit, and then conclude. I'm summary gal. Yup, that's me.
So, Drusilla, do you want to give us the synopsis? The gang are visited by cotton candy phantasms with rapturous fear, injury, and death. There are spiders, loads of bashing the slayer, which is quite nice. It's a warm and fuzzy nighttime paradise. Rebecca, why don't you give it a try?
Well, in this episode, the people of Sunnydale are finding themselves trapped inside their nightmares, despite it being in the safety of daylight. The most seemingly unassuming person is behind the torment of students and adults alike.
Yes, that's much more like it. This episode touches on universal nightmares, the nightmares we all share. The episode itself is a nightmare. The conceit is about magical thinking. If we think, or in this case, dream something bad, it'll happen. Magical thinking is common in children. It's the root of many superstitions for adults too. Knocking on wood, buildings without a 13th floor, wearing a lucky charm, even making a wish on birthday candles. In Buffy's opening nightmare, it's weird to see her so scared. The only time we've seen her like this before was when Angel was revealed as a vampire for the very first time. It's the first universal fear explored. She's paralyzed by terror. Dreamers, there should be one word for nightmarers. Often in dreams like that, nightmares like that, you can't run, you can't scream. It's a really funny transition when Buffy is saying no and Joyce is saying yes, no, yes, and she's waking her up to go to school. But it also represents that feeling when you wake up from a nightmare and you can't shake it. You wake up in a bad mood, or you go back to sleep and the nightmare picks right back up from where you were. I hate that so much.
A lot of times I'll wake up during a nightmare and then go back into a different one, but it's the same sort of feeling. And it's by the time you actually do get up in the morning, no matter what the day's, supposed to be, you're exhausted, you're drained, and you feel it physically like you've been fighting all night.
For sure. And you feel sometimes it takes even a minute to realize that it didn't really happen.
Mm-hmm. There have been times we look around and go, wait, did I do that? Did I pick that up? Did I just dream about it? No. Okay.
Exactly. Buffy and Willow at school talk about Buffy's parents' divorce, which is a real nightmare. The little boy, Billy Palmer, is played by Jeremy Foley. He kept reminding me of Edward Furlong.
Mm.
Doesn't he look like him?
Yeah. I kept thinking he also looked like Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yes.
It was especially the hair length.
Yep. Maybe mixed together. Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Edward Furlong all together. The second fear, spiders. I could not ever shoot that scene with the tarantulas. Could you do that?
No. I not that close. No.
You know those things where people say, okay, for $10 million, would you? I just don't think I physically could do it.
I think that physically our bodies override our brains. So even though we'll say like, yeah, no, I can try it, then it's literally like this fight between your head and the rest of your body to get on board. And I just feel like 9 times out of 10, your body's going to win.
For sure. Just watching it, Dev and I are sitting there and I'm screaming, no, and not even looking at the screen. So I don't think I could do it. The master says fear is the most powerful force, not love, not hate, that we are defined by the things we fear. He says, like pain, fear can be controlled. If you face it, it cannot master you. This sums up the episode. It is the moral of the episode, which is about not letting the unconscious run the show. It's wild that the master imparts good advice. I took a lot of good advice from great-granddaddy. It depends on what your definition of good is, Drusilla. Oozing intestines in crimson tides. You've made my point. Thank you. The shot up from the ground to the high school is perfect for this episode. What lurks beneath? It reminds me of the scene in Blue Velvet where the camera zooms into the ear, the underworld of horror. This episode feels very Twilight Zone-y to me as well.
Yeah, definitely. You get it with not just the storytelling, but the way that it's shot and especially the lighting. You're led to understand the break in the two worlds. And so there's never any confusion. Even though everything's taking place during the day, we're either taken into the basement of the school and it's incredibly dark and we're just catching bits and shadowed light, or on the regular floor of the school, everything is hyper bright. And then as the episode continues, we start to see it's almost like they're building this reality. So you have the plastic sheeting hanging down like in a construction site. It was just a very visual episode. So it let you know what the rules were just by looking at the set.
The visuals and the lighting played so much into that. Did you notice that when Buffy and her mom are in the car that there are some continuity issues?
I actually didn't, which is a hard thing to admit because I'm a big continuity nut.
Do you have any idea what it was?
I'm going to guess it probably had to do with hair.
It didn't. It actually has to do with Joyce's seatbelt is there in the shots with both her and Buffy, but not in Joyce's close-ups.
Oh. Seatbelts always drive me nuts because a lot of times you'll see they'll shoot something and nobody's wearing a seatbelt.
And it's the law.
And then, yeah. I'm like, I don't think that's not, you can't get away with this.
That always bothers me when people open a door. Let's say they leave their front door open or their car door open. They don't bother closing it in movies and TV. And both Dev and I are always saying, nobody does that. Nobody leaves their door just wide open. No.
What are you talking about? Of course they do. They leave their front door open. You see somebody walk in and there's no gesture of like kicking the door closed or closing it. They just continue into a space and you're like, okay, you're letting the murderer in at this point.
Exactly. I always have this too, but I don't know, maybe some people do it. But when people put their shoes on the bed, they lie in their shoes on the bed. It always bothers me because I personally don't know anybody who does put their boots or shoes right on their bed.
I don't know anybody who does it unless they're putting it in a suitcase. And even then I'm kind of, a little hesitant about it.
Oh, I definitely I even put my shoes in baggies in my suitcase. So
Yes, same. I don't want them touching everything else. And the bag will be on the floor. It'll be one of the last things to go in on top before I close it.
we pack in a similar way.
No, I grew up with all these little things that my mother and my grandmother told us, superstitions. So shoes on the bed were definite no. You couldn't put your hat on a bed or your purse.
Oh, no. Yeah. It's supposed to be bad luck.
Yeah. And so all these things are still drilled into my mind to this day.
When Giles first comes out acting weird, he seems like a child who's trying not to get caught at something. We don't yet know what's off with him, what his nightmare is going to be. Wendell explains that his nightmare started when his brother killed his spiders. He dreamt it and then it happened. When he says he in fact loves spiders, Xander clarifies that he means in a platonic way. I think this is a reference to Teacher's Pet and his experience with Miss French, the praying mantis teacher.
Mm.
The third universal nightmare shared is Buffy doesn't know where her history class is. She doesn't know anything on the test. The test is over fast. It's the anxiety of not being prepared, being caught off guard, of failing. The fourth fear is going alone into the basement and being attacked. The fifth is the hospital. I have a fear of hospitals, so that one resonates with me. J. Robin Miller, who plays Laura, is wonderful. I really thought she was great. Did you like her in the scenes she has?
I did.
There's some funny nightmares. The tough boys that fight in the hallway, and then one of the boys' mom appears and kisses and embarrasses him. Did you notice what poster is in Willow's locker?
I did not.
Ooh, Nerf Herder, the band who created the Buffy theme and who I just interviewed.
Perfect placement.
Exactly. The seventh fright is Xander undressed, which is a quintessential nightmare. Most people seem to have dreamt about being at school naked or not wearing underwear or something of that nature. The eighth is Giles can't read. I'm not sure if this is such a common nightmare, but it's perfect for his character.
Mm-hmm.
We meet Buffy's dad for the first time. Dean Butler, who was also on Little House on the Prairie, plays Hank Summers. He did 5 episodes total over the course of 4 seasons. This episode, then season 2, When She Was Bad and Becoming Part 1, then season 5, The Weight of the World, and then his last episode was season 6, Normal Again. Ninth fear, he says that the divorce was because of Buffy. It is such a cruel scene. He doesn't even want to bother with seeing her on the weekends anymore. This fear is that it's all your fault. It's the terror and confirmation that you're not loved, that you don't matter. This one's a biggie.
It was really heartbreaking to see Buffy go through that.
I agree, and she played the scene so well. And you just know it's going from bad to worse to worse to worse. And even at the beginning of it, you know it's just going to keep going, and you don't want it to. When Willow asks how Billy crossed over and brought the nightmares with him, Giles says that things like that are easier when you live on a hellmouth. This is a get out of jail free card in terms of writing. The 10th worry is another funny one. Cordelia appears with bad hair, bad clothes, and has to be on the chess team.
Yeah, hair is a really big part of a character. A lot of times when we have to make somebody look particularly bad, it is hard for them to remove themselves from their hair. There's a lot of things you could do with someone's face, but hair ends up acting more as a security blanket.
Oh, interesting.
So it's the same thing as when somebody goes from long to short hair and they're at the salon, and so many times people are crying afterwards, or, they regret their decision. And, it's something that grows back. But it is amazing how much we depend on it, and it literally shields us from the world.
And it's part of our own self-identity.
Yes. I still remember my aunt always saying, like, don't cut your hair. It's a woman's crowning glory. And anytime I did, she would just hang her head when she looked at me.
Oh.
But they also say when someone cuts their hair, they're about to make a change in life. So I think change is good. I think haircuts and crazy hairstyles, maybe not necessarily Cordelia's, but generally crazy hairstyles can be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We only live once, right?
Exactly.
But for me, a long, long time.
Yes, Drew, that is true. Cordelia's true fear is a bit heavier. Her value is tied up in her beauty and her social standing. What if that goes away? Who is she without that? Does she have any value without that? Willow also goes down to the basement. We already discussed this one. Next one, there are swastikas on the walls. Xander gets led by chocolates into a trap. It's very Hansel and Gretel. By the way, Hansel and Gretel, the Brothers Grimm German fairy tale, was very frightening. Many fairy tales use nightmarish elements. They're supposed to be cautionary tales and are often very dark. Buffy and Billy get lost, which is another fear. When Buffy and Billy go to the graveyard, it is so like a dream, disjointed. All of a sudden, it's night, the kind of thing that happens in dreams and nightmares all the time. Then we come to performance anxiety. Willow is on stage as the geisha girl in the opera Madame Butterfly. She doesn't know what her role is. She doesn't know why she's there. She sings an awful note. It's similar to Buffy not being prepared for the test, but this is about public speaking, public performing, being shamed publicly. Every performer and creative person I know has variations of this nightmare.
I think just the idea of when you're performing, you're putting so much of yourself out there on display, and in a way that almost no other profession does. You are allowing people to judge you. You're welcoming it, and that is terrifying.
Yep. Scott Harlan played the opera singer. He became a vocal coach at the American Musical and Dramatic Academy after the show. Willow's nightmare tracks from the last episode, Puppet Show. So does the next one, The Clown, from Xander's 6th birthday. These become embodied and brought to life. And we know how you feel about clowns, Sire Rebecca.
Yes. Luckily, the laughter and the silhouette of the clown that you see before you actually see it was enough for me to tilt my head away and just wait for the sound to change so that I knew the scene was different.
That was me with the spiders, although I was audibly screaming, so you weren't doing that.
No, I was just frozen and hoping, okay, it's almost over. It's almost over. He's going to pass in a second. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh my gosh. We get to being buried alive. The master is free. He says, nightmares made flesh. The master quotes what before burying Buffy? Do you know? To be continued. It's time to reveal our next two contenders for the battle of the Uber Buffy fans. Ooh, a battle to the death. No, Drew, this is the ultimate trivia contest. How disappointing. I think we need some quiet time, Drusilla. How about quiet time for you, minion Juliet? Remember my Christmas takeover? I like that quiet time. You don't want to make me cross. No. No, I don't. Well, I do want to meet the next contenders. Yes, it's very exciting. Drum roll, please.
I'm Charles Swint. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and I have probably watched Buffy over 50 times through, all the way from beginning to end. I usually do an annual rewatch, sometimes two, and probably seen multiple episodes, 15 or 20 times on top of that.
I'm Angela, and I'm from Palm Coast, Florida, and I've probably seen Buffy at least a dozen times.
The demand has been overwhelming. We only have a few slots left. So if you want to be considered as a contender, email revampedpod@gmail.com with your name, where you're based, and where you weigh in with your number of Buffy watch-throughs.
Let's get ready to Buffy!
Revamped Ease, please correspond with me on Twitter at Juliet Landau or on Instagram at Juliet_Landau and on the Fans of Juliet Landau Facebook group or Juliet Landau official Facebook page. And we will see you next week when we do it again. Until next time, rewatch, revamp, reinvent, and be remarkable you.